Good day, everyone. This is Sidney Forfe of SL Podcasts. I'm very excited again today to be sharing information with you, the information that is meant to change your life and make you better. It is a very interesting moment again. We are together and we are sharing one of the very important topics. And we are definitely going to learn a lot from what we are going to be sharing today, because we go through things that we sometimes don't even understand why we have to be going through all these things. And sometimes we think life is unfair to be handing us some of these things. And today's topic is just to put life into perspective so that we can look at life better and so that we can learn and not beat ourselves up unnecessarily. And today's topic is we can only understand everything in retrospection, not in real time. This topic is necessitated by the confusion that we usually see ourselves in, that good people experience bad things in life sometimes, and bad people experience good things in life. And we always think life is very straightforward. You can be good and you'll experience good things every time. But life has shown us over and over again that bad things happen to good people and good things happen to bad people. It is a fact. And unfortunately, the good people usually get very confused when they experience bad things, especially when they are at their best behavior and when they are trying to do things the best way they can. And they realize that things are happening which they didn't plan for. In most cases, we can say life happens to us. We experience what life hands over to us. As much as we plan and we try to do things the best way we can, sometimes life hands us some things, and we have to be dealing with all those things. And if we can have a proper perspective about life, we are definitely going to enjoy life a little bit better. And we are going to not go down the drain, and we are not going to beat ourselves up too much trying to make amends. In our confusion, we try to make sense of what is happening and why those things are happening to us, because we are confused. When you have saved money somewhere and then all of a sudden some bad things are happening, that depletes everything that you have saved for years or for months. And you always wonder, why did I spend that time and energy on saving and something bad happened that wiped everything away just like that? Those are confusing moments. And troubles get us confused. It is a fact. And challenges get us worried. We keep asking ourselves, why us? Especially when we are trying as much as possible to be in our best behavior and doing what we have read in books and what we have heard from speakers. But we come home to a place of trouble. We come home to mourn what our losses. This is something that good people struggle with. Bad people know that they are bad and they do everything in their power to make things work. The bad way or the good way, it doesn't matter to them. But this one is for those people who are saying, I want to do things the best possible way. I want to be on the good side of the law. I want to be on the good side of life and life principles. And whenever we experience all these troubles, we get worried, we are troubled, because we expect that our goodness should yield better results. Life is good when everything is going well. When we are strolling on the top of the mountains, we are good. And everything makes sense because we are on our best experiences. And things start turning when we go through twists and turns of life. That's when we ask ourselves a lot of questions. That's when we question our motives, we question our acts, we question whether being good is useful or useless. But those are the times that we need to put life into perspective and understand life for what it is. Good things happen to bad people, and bad things happen to good people. We may not explain thoroughly why those things have to happen that way. But when we go through twists and turns, when we go through lonely, sunless valleys, when we are surrounded by trouble, we are thrown off balance because we don't know. We are never prepared for twists and turns and trouble, because especially when we are trying to be the best possible beings, we are thrown off balance. We get confused because in most cases, nothing makes sense. And that happens, and we realize that things are going in a downward spiral. Those are the things that will get us confused, and we are left confused. Many people think there should always be a logical explanation to everything that is happening around us and that are happening to us. Many people think you should be able to explain everything, and that is not possible because there are a lot of things that we don't have control over. There are a lot of things that we don't know. And unfortunately, whenever all those things happen, they leave us confused. And unfortunately, if you are going to come to a place where you want to make sense of everything and you want the logical explanation to everything that we are going through, you are going to be left in a bad space and confused. It is understandable when we are paying for our mistakes. Whenever we do something wrong and we get punished for that, it is understandable. Even though we are saying it is understandable, we always again compare ourselves with other people to say there are people who are doing worse things than us, and they are not having it the way we are having it. We are being punished for our minor errors, while there are other people who are even gross than what we are doing. And all those things again pile up the confusion. And we need to understand all those things and put life into perspective. Trying to make sense of everything in real time is not good for our sanity. In most cases, whenever we are going through challenges, we are going through trouble, and we want to make sense of everything there and there, we are just affecting ourselves. We are affecting our thinking patterns, because we need to admit there are things that happen that we don't know why they happen. And we can only understand when we look back after everything is settled. It is very important because every time we try as much as possible to try to understand in real time, we are going to end up with more confusion instead of us getting to logical answers. It is very important for us to be processing all those things properly. The things that throw us off balance most of the time are our inclination to comparing ourselves with others. To say, I have done this better than this one, and this one seems to be doing better than me. These are some of the things. These are the bad attitudes that we have. We don't live our lives in comparison with what other people are doing. So if we do that, we are going to, unfortunately, antagonize ourselves. We are going to add salt to the wounds. We are going to add more to even the confusion that we'll be going through, to say, I have done things better than others, but I'm experiencing things worse than what other people are experiencing. We tend to forget that life is a marathon. It's not a short sprint. Maybe those people who you think are getting away with murder, or they are getting away with committing errors, and you are getting punished for the minor things you are doing, and they are getting away with all those things. Maybe, just maybe, because life is a marathon, they will pay for their errors in the future. And if it happens, you are going to realize that life is fair and life is what it is. Other people get punished later. Their lives will end up not good enough, while you paid in the past and your life keeps improving. This is something that we need to really work on putting into perspective. It may seem like good people are losing in a short term. We usually look at things like that to say people are good and they're not benefiting for being good. And a lot of people want to be nasty. They want to be a little bit aggressive and all that because they don't believe in being good anymore. We may seem like losing, or we are losing in a short term. But if we can keep doing good and continuously being committed to being on the good side of everything, it's just a matter of time. Everything will pay off with time. If we would try to understand life in the moment of events, we throw ourselves into confusion. Whenever we are experiencing something at that particular time, and we will try to understand that in the moment, we are going to be confused. Because, like I said, there is no logical explanation to some other things that are happening to us. There are times, like I said, we are being punished for the mistakes we made. And there are times things just happen. And I still repeat the statement that we started with. Bad things happen to good people, and good things happen to bad people. That's how life is, and that's how life rolls. And we need to make peace with that. And in overall, a good life is reserved for good people. This is what we need to come to. As much as we may be experiencing some difficulty and challenges, good life is reserved for good people. If you sow in a lot of goodness, you are going to experience a lot of goodness going forward. Because life is fair. And whatever you put in, you take out as a harvest from the other side. And unfortunately, it doesn't happen when we want it to happen, there and there. Because like I said, life is long and life is a marathon. It's not a short sprint. Life needs to be put into perspective from time to time to avoid the confusion. And the other thing which we need to put life into perspective for is the fact that we don't need to lose track of being good or the good track. Because if we do that, we will be working against ourselves and we will be antagonizing every good effort that we kept on doing in the past. We don't need to lose track. We need to believe in life processes. We need to believe that good things are reserved for good people, even though bad things every now and then will happen to good people. In our confusion, in our trying to make sense of why things happen the way they do, we lose perspective and we don't see the need to continue doing good. And this is something that we need to really avoid at all costs, because we'll be costing ourselves the harvest that is ahead of us, because we lost track, we lost perspective, and we wanted to do things that are not good for us because we think being good didn't work, while in the actual fact, it will work for us in the future. We tend to forget that life hangs on principles and universal laws. This is a fact. And the principles we are talking about and the universal laws we are talking about, they are true and they are never wrong and they are never late again to deliver justice. Universal laws are universal laws. If you break universal laws, they will punish you. And if you keep them, they will embrace you. This is how we are supposed to look at life and how we are supposed to perceive life, because it is very important. Our biggest challenge is keeping the right track even when it doesn't make sense. This is what we need to understand. Do we continue keeping on doing good even when it doesn't make sense? Even when we are handed lemons, when we thought we planted oranges, do we continue planting, or do we go around cutting every tree that we have planted because we have tasted lemons? Changing course or giving up on the good tracks because things seemed not to have worked for you in the short run is usually a terrible mistake that many people make. This is something that we really need to emphasize. We don't need to turn our back on sowing in good seeds of goodness just because in a short run we experienced what we didn't anticipate. Things didn't go according to how we envisaged or how we thought it would turn out. Life is a marathon, and good people will experience more good in their lifetime. And there are some things that we cannot avoid, which will happen, which we don't like. Our parents, because everyone will die. It's a fact. Our parents will die. It doesn't necessarily mean because you are a good person, your parents will live forever. They will die. Our kids will die. Our kids will experience bad experiences. And our relatives or our friends are going to go through trouble. These are the facts of life. As long as we are here, we are going to experience some of these things. And if we continue to be good, we are going to experience more good outcomes than the bad things that are definitely going to happen. And giving up on doing good is a terrible mistake. This is something that we have to overemphasize. Don't give up on doing good. It is not good for you. It is not good for me. It is not good for anyone. It doesn't necessarily mean because we are experiencing some challenges, we have to give up on doing good. We need to stay on track. We need to continuously do what is necessary. And we have to endure all these troubled times. And in most cases, the temptation to quit and give up intensify when we are closer to our rewards, when we are closer to our due time. That's when the temptation to quit intensifies. And a lot of people give up too late. When they are just about to reap their reward, they just throw their hands up in total surrender. And they say, I've been good and I've tried everything that I needed to do and things didn't work out. And I can't do that anymore. This is something that we do as a mistake. We really need to understand and put life into perspective because it is very important. So the condition to reap a good harvest is by not throwing our hands up and giving up. This is a serious condition that we need to be cognizant of. It is very important. Why should you give up? After spending years building your character, and just because you have one heartbreak, you want to throw all those things away. Continue being good. You will meet someone who will appreciate your goodness. This is life. If you try one business venture and it fails, why do you have to throw away all those experiences you have been gathering over time just because one venture didn't work out for you? You have experience to start another thing and make it work. With the experience of what you failed on, it is very important for us to always put life into perspective and look at life the way we're supposed to look at it. Even when it looks like we are losing and we're going under, we need to keep doing what we know to be right. Can we do that? Because it is very important for us. Even when we think we are losing, even when things look gloomy, we need to keep doing what we think is right. We need to trust the process of life and keep going in the right direction. There's a life process that we all go through, and we experience all these things as part of the package of growth, as part of the package of experiencing and going through the life processes. It is very important for us to put life into perspective and understand that we really need to resist the temptation to make sense of everything when they happen to us. It is always tempting to try to be logical about everything, to try to explain what is happening and why things are happening the way they are happening, and why people are rude, or why people are attacking, or why people are bad, or why things are not working for you. We are always too quick to try to explain. This is a temptation to always try to be smart in thinking that we will understand everything. But in the actual fact, we need to understand that we don't have control over life. This is a fact. We don't have control over time. This is something that we need to come to understand. And unfortunately, we don't have a clue about our due time. When we are going to receive our harvest for the good seeds that we have planted, we don't even have a clue of the due time. Had we known, or if we could know, it was going to be something which is very good for us, because we will know, I'm just about to get into my good times, and you won't hurt yourself, or you won't speak bad of yourself, or you won't be thrown into confusion because you'll be knowing. But unfortunately, we don't know our due time. And like I said, the temptation to quit, the temptation to stop doing what we need to do intensify, especially when we are close to a breakthrough. It happens in business, and it happens in everything about life. And if we are not careful, we are always going to lose out and miss out because we quick. When in the nick of time, when we are supposed to be holding on a little bit longer, we give up on some things and then we don't benefit. Our hard work won't pay us when we have that kind of attitude. Being good and faithful have great and outstanding outcomes in the long run. This is something that we need to understand and always put life into perspective for. Everything works for us in a long run. This is a fact of life. Everything, whether good or bad, all these things, they happen for a purpose. Our challenges happen for a purpose. It doesn't necessarily mean because you had a bad patch, it was all bad, because we find opportunities in those bad patches. We grow in those bad patches. We gain experience in those bad patches. Our lives are shaped by hardship. There are a lot of things to learn from our tough times and our challenging moments. Even though we dread them, we need to understand that every single thing that happens to us, it has its own purpose. And what we need to understand again, every time we experience these bad patches, they prepare us for the next level of our lives. We graduate into the next level when we endure and we are not broken by our bad experiences and our troubled times. If we can hold on, we'll get to the other side better, and we'll realize we are now on another level. We don't think the way we used to think. We don't see things the way we used to see them, because we have been shaped and we have been purified and we have been made better by our bad experiences. We have to understand that in our confusion, we need to know we don't have to understand everything. If we can get that, it will be very good for us. We need to admit to the fact that we are not smart enough to understand everything. We don't have everything figured out in life. We learn as we go. We make mistakes and we learn from our mistakes. And we are supposed to get better because of what happened. We don't understand everything. And we don't need to have details of why things are happening the way they are. As much as we want to be logical and we want to be smart in trying to explain everything and have details, we just throw ourselves into more confusion in trying to do that. We need to admit some of these things will just happen. Then they happen, and we need to appreciate that they have happened, and then we learn from them and move on. And we can only understand some of these things when you look back, not on like in real time. We need to make peace with the fact that we are not smart enough to understand everything about life. We need to make peace with that, to say, I'm not smart enough. It's not like I'm going to understand everything that happens. It's not like I'll have every detail of everything that is happening. If you are fortunate to know, it's fine, fair enough. But if you don't happen to know, don't try to scratch and try to waste your time in trying to make sense of things that you don't have information on. If people hate you, if they explain why they hate you, it is good for you. But if they choose not to, they keep it to themselves. Move on. It's part of life. This is how life is. Whatever thing that seems to be unfair or unfairly happening to us are paving blocks to usher us to our next levels. This is how we are supposed to be looking at everything. It is very important. And everything don't just happen. Nothing doesn't just happen. Everything serves a certain purpose. And we need to understand that about everything that happens to us. it is a very important lesson to learn that nothing just happens. Things happen because they are allowed to happen, and they are not meant to crush us or to make us bad people. They prepare us and they get some waste out of us, and then we can grow and move on from them better and wiser and sharper. Everything works together for good to the good ones. This is a fact of life. We need to continue being good, and we need to be purposeful about everything and intentional about everything, because everything works together for people who are intentional, for people who are purposeful, for people who know what they want, for people who are not going to be made to change because they had bad experiences. We continue to be good and try to traverse the good parts of life and trying as much as possible to be on the good side of life. This is something that we need to emphasize. It is very important. And we are concluding by saying we need to trust the processes, even when nothing makes sense. We need to trust life processes. And in our confusion, we need to keep the right perspective about life. It is very important. When we are confused and we don't know why things are happening the way they are happening, we need to guard our minds. We need to guard our hearts in keeping the right perspective. That it may not have made sense, or it doesn't make sense as I go through some of these things, but it doesn't necessarily mean it is going to end that way. Good things are still coming, and that's how we have to keep our perspective. A good life makes sense in a long run. This is how we are supposed to be looking at things. A good life can only make sense in a long run, because life is a marathon, like I said. It's not a short sprint. You don't win a match today and think you have overcome life, because life is just too long. It is made up of series of events, not one event. That's why there are some people who can hit a jackpot today, and 2-3 years down the line, they are as broke as they ever had. So this is life, and it's a marathon. It's not a short sprint. And what we need to understand is everything makes sense in retrospection and never in real time. That's how we started, and that's how we are ending. We need to understand, whenever we are in the moment of the events, whenever things are happening, they never make sense. But usually we connect the dots when we look back. It is very important. We connect the dots to say, this is how my life shaped up, and this is what happened to me, and this is how I made errors. I was punished for that, and this one I didn't even know why it came in, but I now appreciate it because it opened up my understanding a bit, and I'm wiser because of what happened. These are some of the things that we need to understand. And what looks like victory tend to be losses with time. There are things that we appreciate and we celebrate, only to realize with time that there were actual losses, because the people we celebrated got into trouble with time. These are the facts of life. And what seems to be gains are actually disastrous losses with time. We don't need to be deceived. It doesn't necessarily mean everything that glitters is diamond or gold. So we have seen all these things. We have seen people flourish only to come to disastrous end. We have seen people shamed and gone through trouble only to glitter at the end, because this is how life is, and this is how we have to look at life and how we have to perceive life. We just have to decide to keep doing what we need to do, even when it doesn't make sense in real time. It is very important. Doing good, we have to continuously do good. We have to continuously keep on doing good, even when it doesn't make sense. Even when we get punished for doing good, we need to keep doing good. It is very important for us to come to that. And we are ending by saying we need to trust the life processes. This is life we're talking about. This is, it has processes. We are put under a life processes or life processes. It is very important for us to understand that. And some experiences are not as good as others. We will have our low moments and we will have our high moments. We will have our valleys and we will have our mountains. This is life. And whenever we are on top of mountains, it is always the best moment and we need to enjoy the moments. And when we go into a ditch, we have to understand and put life into perspective and not try to force to make sense of everything. It is not necessary. What you understand, yes, we understand. And what you don't understand is still okay. We need to live on and continuously do good and trust the life processes. Thank you.